Live from Rialto, California, the Mark F Podcast channel brings you the Pay-Per-Review Wrestling Podcast. Tonight, we're covering NXT, The End, review and analysis. Hey guys, how's it going? It's me, your host, Mark Flores. Tonight we're going to be covering NXT The End on the Pay-Per-Review Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Mark Flores. Wow. Incredible matchup we had as far as the Finn Balor Samoa Joe matchup goes, but I'll be able to go into that in a little bit more further detail as the time goes on. But what exactly was the end of? That is one of the main questions that we're trying to get to with NXT The End. The title itself has left everyone with more questions than answers. The two things I was able to grab from this title, NXT The End, was this was the end of Samoa Joe and Finn Balor's rivalry. Perhaps maybe something I've thought for a long time coming. This might start developing the resurgence, actually the debut of Finn Balor to the WWE roster. So those were the things I was able to get out of NXT The End. The title leaves a lot of people with more questions and answers, definitely. It's very much something that's inconclusive and mysterious, and that's why they kind of left it as such an ambiguous title as The End, because now it leaves you with your interpretation of what the end means. What does the end mean to you? But before we go into more details as far as the matches go for NXT The End, let's get the commercials out of the way. Tonight's Pay-Per-Review Wrestling Podcast is brought to you by Game Swappers. Game Swappers, buy, sell, and trade your retro games and next-gen consoles. That's PS4 and Xbox One. You could come into contact with Game Swappers via Instagram at GAMESWAPPERS. That's GAMESWAPPERS. Game Swappers, buy, sell, and trade. Keep in mind, guys, that if you do share the Pay-Per-Review Wrestling Podcast, The Mark and Andre Show, or Retro Collecting 101, you'll be able to get 10% off towards your trade-ins, or you'll be able to get 10% more towards your retro game purchases. So say if you want to buy a game, just simply share my podcast, share it via Instagram, via any form of social media, show the person working at Game Swappers, and we'll be able to get your discount right away. Or if you have like retro game accessories, retro video games, or retro game consoles that you'd like to turn into Game Swappers, simply mention the podcast again and you'll get 10% more towards your trade-ins. It's a very good offer that they're giving, so that's why I'd like to mention it. I'd also like to mention that Game Swappers is actually going to have their next trade event at a Pomona Sportsline Grill, and they will be able to have many video game screens for you to actually have free plays on. There's going to be a lot of fighting games, so your Mortal Kombats, your Street Fighters, they're all going to be able to be played out and in its full glory on a big screen. It's a huge venue. In the next further podcast, I'll be able to go in more further detail, but now that is the gist of what I have. But it's a bigger venue than what the normal Game Swappers building has. And trust me, it's about threefold the size of it, and it's probably going to be about 20 degrees cooler, because with all that body heat, it does get really hot within there when it comes to doing the trade events. But that's a topic for a different podcast. What I want to take care of right now is the lineup that we had for NXT The End. You had Ty Dillinger versus Andrade Cien Almas, which he was known as La Sombra in AAA and the CWLL. And then we had American Alpha versus Dash and Dawson for the NXT Tag Team titles. And also on the list, you had Shinsuke Nakamura versus Austin Aries. You had Nia Jax versus Asuka for the NXT Women's title. You also had a teaser for a former TNA superstar. And then you had a cage match between Finn Balor and Samoa Joe for the NXT title. Guys, this card, if you follow the independent circuit, or if you follow the TNA circuit or the TNA alumni circuit, you know that this thing is like just breaking out of the seams for so much publication. the lineup here does rival an average pay-per-view that WWE doesn't care about. This lineup is actually a lot better than the lineup they had for Payback and Extreme Rules. I say that very confidently, simply because that this lineup here actually has a lot better talent all around from start to finish than what we saw previously at Extreme Rules or the Payback. I simply think that just because the movesets alone, the way everything played out with these matches, I think we actually had a really good NXT program here, and for them to compact this in 2 small hours is actually pretty incredible. I definitely give them a lot of props. I give Triple H and anyone else who is behind the NXT program. I definitely give them props for putting together a well drawn out, a well choreographed program. Anyway, first and foremost, I want to get out the first match: Ty Dillinger versus Andrade Cien Almas. One thing to note before I get into the match is that Ty Dillinger is over with the NXT crowd so much. It's actually unfortunate that he's a jobber to the NXT stars that come up. This is really bad because Ty Dillinger is on the worst side of 30. He's 35 years old, but his gimmick is so incredible. A lot of people do enjoy it, so that's why I like seeing Ty Dillinger come out to these events and actually get a match with Andrade Cien Almas. For the guys that don't know who Cien Almas is, he basically was La Sombra in AAA, basically the WWE of Mexico. This guy's luchador moveset is very incredible. There's going to be some moves that he won't be able to do in the WWE simply because there's certain maneuvers that are pretty risque in terms of injury prone for the injury prone superstars. But what I want to tell you guys is that Andrade Cien Almas really had a great debut showing. He and Ty worked the house. Actually took the house down with the first match. Not saying that these other matches weren't none to see, but this one was a great opener. Cien Almas and Ty Dillinger work a lot of matches at house shows, so the chemistry that you see on the mass stage with an NXT show really gives you some perspective on how much work they've actually did together for this kind of match. Hopefully we can see a little more from NXT in terms of expanding Ty's character. This match was an average to an above average match. It depends whether you like the regular technical style that Ty Dillinger has, or if you enjoy the flashy lucha libre style that Andrade Cien Almas actually has. It was a great debut for Andrade Cien Almas to actually take this to the main stage, to take his act to the main stage. One thing to nitpick at, I just didn't like his outfit. His little overalls with the zoot suit hat didn't really go over with me. But anyway, the match was an above average one, and we actually had Cien Almas going over Ty Dillinger. So this is probably might be a very long paced victory road for Cien Almas. Hopefully this leads to something longer and to a better feud along the way. You could probably assume by NXT on Wednesday that they'll actually have a program for Cien Almas to take care of when it goes through there. But overall, the match was was average to above average. I did enjoy Cien Almas' debut. I thought it was a really good one. There's a bunch of spots that I did enjoy as well. So that's what I thought of this one. Let's go on to this next match here, which was a tag team match for the NXT tag team titles. You have American Alpha versus Dash and Dawson for the NXT title. American Alpha are the champions at this point. So Jordan and Gable have improved so much in so little time. I'm actually really impressed, and I really didn't see much. Much error from Jason Jordan this time around. Him and Chad Gable are really a great tag team. One thing to note is that this match is pretty much a certified classic in terms of NXT Tag Team Division, in terms of the NXT Tag Team Division, simply because that these had a lot of classic moves and a lot of next generation tag team maneuvers. You had a lot of close 2 counts. You had Dash and Dawson being incredible heels, so incredible that if you actually have a sense of disdain for them, if you don't like Chad Chad Dawson and Dash Wilder, that means that their gimmick is actually going over with you, because that's what heels are meant to do. This match, to me, between American Alpha and Dash and Dawson was an extraordinary one. It was extremely back and forth. It was good to see American Alpha actually use some moves we haven't seen before. Dash and Dawson also actually had really had the heel maneuvers out on display tonight. That night, tugging tights during pins, attacking the non-legal man, etc., etc. They actually, anything you wrote the book on tag team heel maneuvers, they've actually did during this match. Wow, an extremely back and forth match. The movesets were incredible. There was not a lot of botches. It was actually well placed between the two, Dash and Dawson, and Jordan and Gable. There was one spot where after both Jordan and Gable eliminate Dash and Dawson from the opposite side of the ropes, they both slide in the middle, right to the main camera in the middle, and actually slide and start yelling, and they get a huge pop, a huge ovation, and it was actually really cool to see that. The rush of energy that you get while seeing that just definitely goes to show that that room was definitely electric during that time. But unfortunately, the result was that Dash and Dawson actually beat American Alpha and became two-time NXT champions. So what can we see about this outcome here, where American Alpha actually comes off of a loss during this great hot streak that they were on? So these baby faces might just end up getting called to SmackDown or Raw. We're just pending the draft here. At this point, we got to see where American Alpha goes, because I can see them actually going to the main roster now. As inexperienced as Enzo and Cass were at one point, American Alpha kind of have both sides covered, because what Enzo and Cass don't have, which is Enzo Amore actually having a bigger build and actually having a moveset to go with Colin Cassidy's, American Alpha with Jordan and Gable, they actually are both technically skilled, and they're former NCAA wrestlers, so they do know what they're doing as far as movesets go. So hopefully we can see something develop between American Alpha as far as getting called up to the main stage. That's something I would like to see. As far as Dash and Dawson, I can expect them staying in NXT for a little while longer, but with the two characters like Dash and Dawson together like this, it literally rings you the bell of Blanchard and Arn Anderson. So much, it's not even funny. So it might be good to see them come out of a debut, like when American Alpha is probably like facing the Vaudevillains or Enzo and Cass in some number one contendership type of thing. It'll be good to see Dash and Dawson rush the stage to American Alpha and actually relive the same rivalry to actually give advertisement to NXT during their previous feud. That would something I would imagine WWE doing, but unfortunately WWE creative isn't really as innovative as the fans would like to think, so that kind of wouldn't do. So the outcome I can see is American Alpha might go to the WWE, either Raw or SmackDown. Dash and Dawson might stay in NXT for a little while longer, but I kind of want to think that Dash and Dawson might even be a group big enough to actually go to the Bullet Club. But that's just a conspiracy that I'm thinking of, but that's just for a later day. Anyway, so the next thing that we had is after Dash and Dawson left the ring, Jason Jordan and Chad Gable were left hurt in the middle of the ring. So then randomly come out the Authors of Pain. The Authors of Pain are made up of two individuals. One of them is a former MMA mixed martial artist, and the other, I have no idea who the other is, but the manager for Hawk and Animal, the Road Warriors, I think it was Paul Ellerby, he actually came out with the Authors of Pain. So the Authors of Pain actually beat up Jordan Gable. They beat the shit out of him, eliminate him out of the, not eliminate him, but take him over take him over on the mats and just do all these crazy powerhouse maneuvers. There was actually one point where Gable was thrown across the ring like a dart to Jason Jordan. Oh no, excuse me. Jason Jordan was sent to Chad Gable like a dart, and he actually speared Chad Gable. Chad Gable actually sold it really well. He actually ended up flipping and selling the actual injury, which is pretty cool to me. But expect a program between the Authors of Pain and American Alpha first, and then after that we might see American Alpha take the victory real quick and end up going to Raw or SmackDown. But it was good seeing Paul Ellering actually come out and actually debut to become a manager of the Authors of Pain. So that's going to be good to see for the long run. But this match, I wanted to spend the most of the segment on this simply because it was a really incredible match. If you haven't seen it yet, I suggest you go see it. It was definitely a good one to see. The next one we had on the docket was Shinsuke Nakamura versus Austin Aries. Boy, this match I have been waiting for the longest time. I was literally sitting in my seat waiting for this and just being in anticipation so much that I actually Snapchatted it. By the way, the Snapchat is Mark F_73, the number 7, the number 3, Mark F_73, in case you want to catch my story on Snapchat. Sometimes I have posts that correlate with wrestling and advertisements for the Mark and Andre show or my other various podcasts. Anyway, Shinsuke Nakamura versus Austin Aries. This match was a great match to see. A lot of back and forth between Shinsuke Nakamura and Austin Aries. It was a great match between the two. A lot of technical wrestling from Austin Aries, trying to get holds and elbow drops in. But with Shinsuke Nakamura, he was just going all hard with the leg kicks, being a little aggressive. The only thing I want to reiterate is that it's hard for Shinsuke Nakamura to actually do a great program with foreign wrestlers. And I say foreign as in Austin Aries does not speak Japanese. So Shinsuke Nakamura is actually just going off of a whim, hoping that Austin Aries actually can reciprocate back anything that he gives. It's just going to be hard to see it's going to be hard to see one time inevitably that Shinsuke Nakamura might just injure somebody just doing some of his moves simply because they are lost in translation during calling of spots. But nonetheless, this went back and forth. It just happened to see that the end result was Austin Aries actually does a suicide dive to the outside of the ring. Shinsuke Nakamura gets out, moves to the side, and then Austin Aries gets dragged back into the ring. And then Shinsuke Nakamura finishes him with the King Sasha. That finishing move is actually so impactful. It looks very terrible to be a recipient of that move, but me myself, I'm a big Austin Aries fan. I'm also a big Shinsuke Nakamura fan, but I wanted Austin Aries to possibly win this, but he actually had a win over Baron Corbin during Baron Corbin's hot streak, so you can't have one or the other. It was either one to see. Someone was going to lose that I liked, but I'm glad it wasn't Shinsuke Nakamura. One thing to say about Shinsuke Nakamura is that he might actually face Finn Balor for the number 1 contendership. Triple H actually posted a photo on his Instagram that actually you see Shinsuke Nakamura and Finn Balor shaking hands. So it's actually something that's might be developing in the next episode of NXT, because we NXT viewers get the episode about, I think it was a week late. I think it's still a week late. They don't usually have the program running that further down the road like that, but it's usually about a week to like 5 days. So one thing I expect from Austin Aries is probably getting into a program with maybe Ty Dillinger just to put him over once. Who knows? Who knows what's up for Austin Aries? But he definitely does deserve a title shot in the near future. Shinsuke Nakamura, on the other hand, I think I see a rocket packed next to him, so I expect him to get shot up either higher in the NXT rankings, just so he can develop and get shot into the main roster soon enough. So hopefully we get to see that. That's something I hope to see in the long run. But anyway, Shinsuke Nakamura ended up winning over Austin Aries. It was a great match. There was not a lot on the line. It was just a match that we've all wanted to see as NXTers, so it was good to see. It was good to see Shinsuke Nakamura actually get a W for that. So Still undefeated in NXT, just FYI. Austin Aries is 1-for-1 when it comes to major matches. I'm not going to count all the little baby dick matches he has with other people on the non-house shows. Anyway, the next match we have is for the NXT women's title. We have Asuka versus Nia Jax. Boy, this match had me crazy because Asuka to me is one of the best technical women's wrestlers that we have, and it's unfortunate she's not on the main roster yet. She's due for it because, you know, once you actually win the NXT women's title, you either keep it for a long time, lose it, and then get shot up. Not for the sake of Bayley, though. I think they're going to keep Bayley in NXT for as long as she can because she sells merch and she appeals to the kid crowd. Picture her as the female John Cena. Anyway, to talk about this match, Nia Jax is actually doing her part, being a great powerhouse wrestler. She's doing her thing. You know, it's something. I'm trying to disassociate her from the Rock lineage, you know, because she is part of the Onai family. So it's kind of unfortunate that she's tied to that because, you know, there's a great lineage of wrestlers that go with it. But she is actually forming her own, and it's good to see that. But with Asuka, oh man, I was really scared for her. I thought she was going to lose the title to Nia Jax. I thought they were going to go crazy pushing for Nia Jax, but it was actually good because during the last part of the match, Asuka actually gets a good rally to get Nia Jax, who she wasn't able to get down on the ground for the majority of the match, finally gets her on the ground, and then Nia Jax starts screaming at Asuka, and then Asuka actually kicks her in the face one more time and gets the 1-2-3. Asuka retains over Nia Jax to still retain the NXT Women's title. One thing I can tell you is that Asuka, despite having a difference between size, it was actually great to see her overcome the David and Goliath motif versus Nia Jax. But with Nia Jax, the sky's the limit with her. Taking one loss isn't really that bad, especially with her. So expect her to get the women's title in the next couple months because I don't think they're going to be keeping Asuka in NXT any longer. I mean, they need... What WWE's Divas division needs is somebody who can actually put on a great match with Charlotte. I'm not saying that no one else can. I'm saying that they just need to keep having this because Charlotte as a heel is great. So maybe they need if Sasha Banks isn't the baby face to do it, maybe Asuka might be, but who knows. But anyway, with Nia Jax versus Asuka, it was a good classic NXT women's match. I definitely enjoyed it. It was good to see Nia Jax use the powerhouse maneuvers, take a different approach to it, but wasn't enough for Asuka wasn't enough to defeat Asuka in the end. So during the match, after the match, they interviewed William Regal, and as soon as you saw William Regal, you saw Bobby Roode from TNA. Bobby Roode, of course, was the one who fought Kurt Angle, and I did a review on that a while back. But this basically is going to stamp that Bobby Roode is actually going to sign with NXT. He's one of the many superstars that's going to be signing with NXT in the next coming months. Bobby Roode, and then the Moose from Ring of Honor, I know for sure, is going to be signed with NXT very shortly. Simply because Apollo Crews actually teased another photo on Instagram saying that him and Moose were actually chilling on the day of NXT The End. So it was something cool to see Bobby Roode actually get back in the mix of wrestling. It was good that he took a little break, but that's all good with me to see Bobby Roode in TNA. So anyway, next match we have is Finn Balor versus Samoa Joe in the steel cage match for the NXT heavyweight title, the NXT championship, if you will. Wow, this match from start to finish, from the debut, from the actual opening musics between Samoa Joe and Finn Balor to the movesets to the whole grandeur of this match. I mean, you need to. There's a way to get an end to this rivalry. There's a way to finalize this rivalry once and for all. It was actually cool to see. But with Finn Balor and Samoa Joe, there was a lot of back and forth, a lot of intensity. I like that they were actually using the cage a lot. One thing to appreciate is that Samoa Joe did actually get the victory over Finn Balor on this one. Samoa Joe actually finished him with his signature move off the second turnbuckle. So I'm glad they're actually giving more confidence to Samoa Joe to use this move at a more drastic point, simply because he has it locked down. I mean, the finisher that he uses did, debilitate Tyson Kidd, but it's not really a big, it's not really a big thing. And accidents do happen. I do wish the best for Tyson Kidd, but it was good to see that Samoa Joe was confident enough to use his move to finish off Finn Balor to retain the title. Finn Balor did give a valiant effort, but not good enough to the point where he actually didn't win. Anyway, I wanted to end this recap by saying this, is that NXT is actually doing a great job by actually recruiting TNA talent, Ring of Honor talent when their contract expires, giving them a deal that they can't refuse, and hopefully we could see a lot of superstars come through the same mix. I want to see WWE thrive, and the only way they can thrive is by monopolizing all the talent. This would be good to see. Hopefully they don't. Hopefully this new era doesn't bring a lot of duds. I don't want to see any more huge potential stars go down the wayside. I'm tired of seeing that. Apollo Crews might be going down that same route, and Neville might be going down that same route, but who knows? I just hope not. But the thing about this is that Triple H signs great talent, no matter the body type. He goes away from Vince McMahon's mindset of a huge hulking wrestler, so that was good to see. That's good to see along these lines that we're seeing now with Bobby Roode being signed. Eric Young still might be signed in the long run, but hopefully the main ones I'm concerned about is Bobby Roode and Moose from Ring of Honor. But anyway, I want to let you guys know is that this pay-per-review podcast was brought to you by Game Swappers. Game Swappers, buy, sell, and trade your retro games and next-gen consoles. That's PS4 and Xbox One. You can come into contact with Game Swappers via Instagram at GAMESWAPPERS. That's GAMESWAPPERS. Game Swappers, buy, sell, and trade. Keep in mind, guys, that if you do share my podcasts, any which one of them, the Retro Collecting 101, Pay-Per-Review Wrestling Podcast, or the very hilarious Mark and Andre Show, you'll actually be able to get 10% off towards your retro game trade-ins. 10% more towards your retro game trade-ins, or if you decide to buy games, you'll be able to get 10% off towards your retro game purchase. It's a win-win situation. It's good for Game Swappers, my proud sponsor. It's good for me for actually adding more listeners to the voice that I give during this podcast, and it actually helps you out because you are the recipient of a discount. So, with that being said, I want to tell you guys that I enjoy it when you guys listen to my podcast. I do this on my days when I work. This is a great hobby that I've enjoyed to do. I'm taking it more serious. I do enjoy doing this simply to inform and to actually give opinions and hopefully get a laugh out of you guys sometimes when I'm actually going on the comedic route with some podcasts. But anyway, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to the Pay-Per-Review Wrestling Podcast. This was a review of NXT The End. You guys have a good night. Thank you.